The amount of energy generated by a nuclear explosion is enormous. Near the crater area, there is almost total destruction from blast and heat. Now, large amounts of pulverized debris and molten earth are pulled up into the mushroom cloud. This is where radioactive fallout is formed.
And move on to doing some of the detail areas, which are thrusters, weird little sensor spike things that are on the side. I don't know what they are. The covers for them, and assault cannons. Let me clean my brush, take a break. I'll be back in a minute. All right, so clean my airbrush, got my paint sorted. So right now we're working with gunmetal, Vallejo Game Air gunmetal, Model Air aluminum, also by Vallejo, and black surface primer. These have already been primed Army Painter black. So gunmetal is your base color here. Oh, I like to tape the not tape, but super glue the pieces to these little chunks of cardboard, so it allows me some hands-free painting. The pressure is really high. That's all right. There we go. Once these dry, I'm gonna brush a coat of black wash onto them. And that's going to get into the recesses of all the pieces. And then I'm going to, with a really fat brush, dry brush a silver highlight on them to accentuate all the edges again after the wash. So let's let these dry for a bit. While the metallic pieces are drying, there's another detail spot I'm going to airbrush throughout the model that's really cool. I'm going to be adding a red stripe right down the front of the model. So it'll go down the whole top fin, across the back, down the front of the missile launcher, down the canopy, and then the two little side panels that hold the sensors I'm also going to be painting red as well. Now, I've taped the model off in all the appropriate areas, just exposing the stripe. This is black, this is gray, this is gray, that's white. So I'm going to be spraying a light coat of white primer before I spray the red, because I want to even out the colors everywhere. Go. All right. Now the whole stripe area is even toned. The base red is going to be Vallejo Fire Red, Vallejo Model Air Fire Red. Which is a nice dark red color. Looks pretty even. Okay. I'm gonna let that dry for just a minute. Then I'm gonna hit the high areas with Vallejo Game Air Bloody Red to create a little bit of a shadow effect. Actually, rather a little bit of a highlight effect on the red stripe. Oh, yeah, that's bright. Sorry, I hit the camera again. I'm only going to do just kind of the upper area here. I'm going to make this the high part of the left side and make this the high part of the right side. There you go. So there's a shadow on the bottom there. And that's it for the red stripe. I'm going to let that dry. All right, so these pieces have been washed now, and I'm going to be using a really fat brush to dry brush some silver highlights on it before I do the weathering. I like to use just cheapo fat brushes that you can get from the craft store. You know, there's no need to buy like a Games Workshop dry brush. I mean, that's just a waste of money, in my opinion. I mean, you're gonna wreck the brush anyway. Save yourself the $8. That looks pretty good. Need just a dab bit more of paint. So this is why I like to lay black paper down. It's almost like a palette. You could do it with white paper, but I like black paper because most of the models that I paint are dark, so I can actually see how translucent the colors are before I start painting or dry brushing.
Who am I then?
I'd also airbrushed the underside engines here.
Maybe you might love it. But I go secret direction.
Smack it. Cool. Alright, now I'm going to do a quick spot of weathering on all those engines because I don't want them to look like they're factory fresh. Just some, oh wait, that's gunmetal. My mistake. Surface primer. Black surface primer. start with the guns. Just spray down, just on the edge. A little bit. There you go. Now it looks like they've been used a few times. Again, I'm just really spraying just that immediate area, nothing beyond it. Hey guys, welcome back. Took a little break, let a bunch of things dry. Now, there's still some detail painting that I need to do over here and do the final assembly there and the final assembly here. I still need to put clear glass in the canopy, well, clear plastic. And there's a couple more little details I need to do, including painting the canopy and some detail painting on the pilot. But I want to jump into doing decals, because I'm going to be applying some custom decals to this guy. And I want to show you, I haven't done a video yet where I showed proper decal application, which is crazy considering the fact that this company started out making decals. So clearly I'm a little behind the ball on that one. All right, so Space Sharks, Carcharodons, I have this custom sheet. Let me try to get the angle right there. There you go. You can see Space Shark symbols. I got some tribal going on here. That's one I cut out to test. All right, so these decal sheets are pretty easy to use. I need to get a little closer to the sheet, so I'm going to pause the camera for a second to cut. Okay, back. So I've cut the symbols that I want to use out of the sheet. Here's a shark symbol, which you can't really see too well in the light. Here's a tribal hammerhead symbol. You'll see these better in a minute when I apply it. These aren't like the Games Workshop decal sheets, because those decal sheets use very expensive offset printing, and it's really only affordable to do it in bulk runs of a couple hundred sheets or more. These sheets that I make are laser printed, and they can be done as one-offs. If you have custom artwork, we do it. We can design custom artwork, or you can send in custom artwork. We can print it up, and there's only 2 printers in the world that are in current production that print white ink, and we have one of them. So that's one of the reasons that our decal sheets are pretty cool compared to what you can do from home. So let's drop these into the water here. Using a soft brush, I'm just patting them down. Give them a couple minutes to get soaked up. All right, so I have this stuff here. It's called microcell. It's available at pretty much any hobby store you go to. It's a very common product. Other companies make similar products. I know Vallejo makes one, Testers makes one. This is a setting solution for decals. Now, these decals are on a it's toner, heat fused toner on a very thin layer of plastic. Now, if you apply the decal properly and seal it properly, you should not be able to see the seam at all, or very, very negligible seam. So microcell is one of those products that helps you hide the seam. It actually eats away the plastic a bit, dissolving the film that's underneath the ink. So this model's already been clear coated, I mean, with a matte varnish, and that's important because you don't want to damage the paint underneath of it. I'm using some microcell, just getting the area wet right there. So I have the first decal. It's come off the backer. Soft brush. Apply the decal. Sometimes I like to use the blunt end of an X-Acto blade to move it into position. Kind of at a downward swoop there. Okay, that's a good spot for it. Use a paper towel. Gently dab off the excess water. Okay. All right, but you're not done there because you can still see the film. Dab some more microcell on it. Don't drench it, just dab it. Okay. Now you're going to need to let this completely dry now and probably dab it with microcell maybe 1 or 2 more times to completely blend the edge in. And then you're going to be clear coating it, and that'll also blend the edge in. I do want to put a tribal hammerhead shark pattern here. This is a bigger one. Okay. Right on there. Boom.
Right there, Mac. I swear to God it had a hold of him.
It's going to go off the edge a bit, so I'm going to be trimming that up. That's fine if the tail goes off. Now, here's an interesting thing. The particular placement of this decal will go over 2 panel lines. So this is where I can show you how microcell can really help you get the decal to blend into the panel lines. But we need to first put that initial coat of microcell on to loosen it up. Alright, let that dry. And then I guess I'll put, well, I want to make some custom numbers, some custom plain markings here for the squad, but I haven't figured that out yet. So let me think about that for a minute, and I'll make a custom sheet for that. And then I think I'll just put one more Space Shark emblem here, and then maybe the plane number there. That sounds about right. Alright, let me work on that. So the first coat of microcell dried, and now I'm applying the second coat of microcell on the wing decals, the skull. I applied a third shark right here. Now this area here, let's see if I can get this into focus. You can see that the microcell, even though it's still wet, is already starting to suck the decal into the recesses of these panel lines, which is exactly what you want it to do. When you are doing something, when you are applying a decal over panel lines like this, a good technique is, you're using a soft brush, dabbing the microcell on. You're going to do this probably 2 times, maybe 3 times. Push, like literally push the decal into the recesses. The decal is getting softer from the setting solution. The film is melting a little bit. So push it in. and as it dries, it'll also get like sucked in a little bit more into the panel line too, just from surface tension. Not surface tension. You know what I'm talking about. All right, let that dry. Also, I just had a cool idea off camera and started executing it. On the underside of the missile launcher here, I want to do some cool caution stripes. So I'm gonna make a custom decal sheet that has the caution stripes and also the numbers for the wings of the plane. And I'm gonna print the stripes in white. So I'm pre-painting the inside of this red, so that it'll be red and white stripes going through here, which will, even though it's caution stripes, will kind of look a little bit like shark teeth, I think. So that might be a cool effect. So we'll see. Being a guy that makes stencils, I always tend to have a lot of stencils laying around. Ones that are, you know, miscut, or ones where part of the stencil sheet got crumpled or something, things that I can't sell. But there's still a lot of viable stencil that wasn't damaged on that sheet. So I have a big stockpile that I just grab from randomly when I'm doing projects. I was looking around in my stockpile and I had some chevron stencils, and I just wanted to add an edge of red caution striping to the bottom of the canopies. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's just a little bit more red. There you go. See how that turned out. Oh yeah, that looks cool. Perfect. Just another little detail. Maybe I'll repeat that on the wings. That'd be kind of cool if I did it right here. Yeah, why not? Why the hell not? Let me apply the stencils and be back in a minute. Hello everyone, back from a little bit of a break. A couple things happened off camera since the last time I turned it on. I added these pieces, just took them off the cardboard, glued them on, and I started doing clear coats on the decals. Now, let's talk about clear coating decals real quick. I like to use Vallejo matte medium or matte varnish. Either is good. All you gotta do is get a little drop of it in a very clean brush that has absolutely no residue on it. And then clear coat it. But here's the thing. Even after applying this step, there still runs a little bit of a chance that the sheen, sorry, let me turn the compressor off there. There still runs a little bit of a chance that the sheen from the decal will shine through. There's a simple fix for that, and I'll show you that as soon as this dries. I've already clear coated all these other decals, and I still have another decal application that I'm going to be doing for the numbers that are on the side of the plane and down the wings. That's coming up. Now, while the clear coat's drying on that decal, let's move on to something else for a minute. This is the Space Marine that's going to have LEDs in them. Let me zoom in. Sorry for the shaking camera. Let me zoom in for a second here. Too close. So he's coming along. Still a little bit of light blocking I have to do under the neck. Not too bad. Space Shark decal in place on the shoulder pad. But here's the thing I want to show you, is you can use fiber optics to make lenses here. So this is a tiny little piece of the fiber optic that's left over.
How? Who am I then? A puppet. And you're not.
Okay.
Maybe you're my puppet. But like all puppets, you think you're rich.
So I'm kind of pushing it into the socket about halfway. And I'm taking these snippers and I'm gonna snip it on an angle. Now I can add a drop of white glue to really bring that out a little bit. Here's the thing though, I don't know how well you're going to see this on camera, but this side now is glowing a little bit more evenly and diffused than this one. It also makes it look like he doesn't have a giant hole in his head and that there's actually a piece of glass there. Okay, coming back. So off camera, I had to get kind of close to this model to finish some of the details. I added some highlights, painted some details, and not detailed, but just took a sharp blade and shaped the fiber optic lenses a little bit, but I had to be like an inch away from the model to do that, so I had to do that off camera. But as you can see, the pilot is pretty much ready to go. I'm going to zoom in on his face a little bit there. Yeah, he looks cool. That's what he'll look like behind the cockpit. That's pretty cool. All right, so that's done for now. We're getting really, really close to the final stages. Another thing that we were doing off camera was, see, the brushable matte did a really good job eliminating the sheen. You don't really see much at all there. But if you were to use Army Painter Anti-Shine or any other matte varnish, really, just a quick spritz. We'll let that dry for a minute, but you can see over here, this whole wing was sprayed with the anti-shine. So is this symbol. You can't see any of the film on it. Same with over here. Well, maybe like a little spot right there. That's about it. Now look at that. See? That's how you apply a decal. So that you don't see any film. There you go. Okay, so I installed the UV light under here. I painted some orange fluorescent paint in areas of the canopy. I want to show you guys this because it's super cool. Sorry, the battery's a little loose. Duck's sick. Alright, so now I can, once this dries and I do a couple little details in there, I can start putting the whole thing together. So now that we're getting close to the end here, there's going to be a lot of little tiny final steps that I need to do before I put everything together. I'm still waiting for the paint in the cockpit to dry before I can highlight it. But one of the next things that I can do is, throughout the model, there's those vents that I cut out in the beginning of the video. Now the vents are going to have light shining through them from inside the model here. But here's the thing though, it looks a lot cooler if you put some kind of diffuser behind the cut vents to help distribute the light more evenly. This is super thin plastic. This is transparent red from Vallejo, and there are red LEDs in the model that are going to be shining through there. So I'm going to paint some transparent red over this to make a super thin piece of red plastic. And then that red plastic is going to be cut up into tiny pieces and installed behind the vents here. Let that dry for a moment. So this piece is somewhat dry now, pretty dry. Now you can see the model's not fully put together. I just kind of put the one piece on top of the other. But you can see where the red light is supposed to be shining through there. Which it is, but it's just kind of like holes, right? So what we're trying to do here is diffuse it. So I'm just gonna slice a piece off of this. I'll fit it into shape a little bit better when we get closer to final assembly, but let me just show you what I'm talking about here. Yeah. Just hold it like this. So now see how you can, let me zoom in on this. See how you can barely see the light shining through? There we go. See? Diffused, not diffused. Diffused, not diffused. Clearly, diffused looks better because it distributes the light across the vents. Similar to how the fiber optics distributed the light in the eyes of the Space Marine. Alright, so the next thing that we need to do is, while other components are drying and waiting their turn, it's a good chance to do the canopy glass. Now, this is super thin plastic that you can get anywhere. I got it from this packaging. Just cut a chunk out. So I'm just cutting it out. I just cut it out, you know, to fit inside there. And then you got a clear canopy piece. Really easy to apply too. Just some regular Elmer's glue or PVA glue if you're in the UK. In the US we just call it Elmer's because they have a monopoly on white glue. Let it dry, pop it on, and then it'll dry clear, you know, in a couple hours. That's pretty much it. Pretty easy. I try to keep it neat, but I don't worry too much if I get some on the edges because I know it's just going to dry clear anyway. If it's like a big glob, sure, I try to do something about that, but otherwise I just let it dry as is. Once it's dry, I'm also going to just take like a wet napkin and, you know, kind of wipe any of my fingerprints off that might be there from application, just to give it a cleaner appearance. If you happen to get any scratches in your glass, in your plastic glass, most of the time you can buff them out by using a little bit of Future floor polish. It's a little trick. Alright, so I just kind of wiped off the excess. You can see there's still like a little bead there. Not too bad. That'll dry, you know, within 4 hours or so. And should be pretty clear. Get that little bit there. There we go. So yeah. That'll look good once it's all dry. Alright, moving on to the next step. So now I've hit the point of the project where I basically need to put everything together and do kind of like a final assemble. And then after the final assemble, do any final painting details, any final highlights, and any final decals that I want. So this wire here is the UV light that's in there. I need to connect that to here. Then I need to put both these pieces together and then put the jet engine caps on, the assault cannons, attach the pilot to the cockpit with the red light coming up through his chair, and these little fins, which go under here, and that'll be the main assembly. And then I got to do the final decals after the main assembly. So pretty close, probably only about an hour or two left in the project on my side. So on your side, maybe another couple minutes worth of video. Well, everything's soldered together. Everything looks like it's working. The soldering iron over here is cooling down. I have a little bit of that liquid masking, liquid electrical tape on these connections drying. But so far so good. All the fiber optics are still in place, looking good. So just gotta let this dry. Just gotta let this liquid electrical tape dry, and then I can close it up. All right. So I've had to, I put the model together. Oh, look at that, that looks cool. I've got some glowing vents coming through the sides. Jet engines coming out the back now. Glowing vents right there. Got the whole blacklight cockpit effect with some glowing eyes. Let's put the canopy piece over that so we can see. Little hard to see with the glare right now. Looks pretty cool though. All the fiber optics are glowing. The cannons are in place. The underjets are going. There we go. So yeah, assembled. Now it's time for final decals. I printed out this additional sheet with some caution stripe markings for in here. The numbers for the jet, which will go on the wings and on the side over here. And just a couple little additional markings on there. So I'm going to start doing that. Let me cut the decals up, be right back. Alright, so just like before, applying some microcell to the areas that the decal is going to go to. The decals have been soaking for about a minute, just long enough. Get that into place.
Now, we all want the same thing, no? We want to take off this moon alive.
It's a good spot. Where's my napkin? There you go. Soft dabs. Let me get that exactly center. That looks about right. Now we play the waiting game. All the decals are on, but I have to let them dry and hit them one more time with the microcell. All the new decals, that is. Got some hatch warnings over here, some jet exhaust warnings, remaining insignia, and this big caution stripe piece, which has to dry out, and then I can trim the edge off to match the front edge there, trim the overhang off. You can see the decals are still a little pliable. That was off center. So I basically just have to wait until this is all dry, hit it with microcell again, and then I can do the final brush clear coat on these, and then finish the model off. Do one more spray clear coat after the brush clear coat. Glue the canopy on because you want to do that last. You don't want to hit this with spray with clear coat at all because it'll fog the glass up. And then she'll be done. So hopefully soon. Well, here you guys go. The final model. We got our fiber optics working pretty well under there. The canopy's working nicely. Got jets. Got the under thrusters. Lights in the gills, I guess you would say. I'm gonna turn the light off over here for a minute. See if the camera focuses in well enough there. There we go. All right. Turn this one back on. So there we have it. I'm gonna leave you guys with a bunch of nice beauty shots that Simon Diaz photographed, and I'll see you guys around the next time.